Hi, Lucas. This is Mrs. Jansen, and it's time for us to start the second part of our eye portraits. So, before we get started, I want to talk about the things that you're going to need. You're first going to need the drawing that we worked on last time, and that drawing should include the outline of an eye in pencil. We have the circular area for your iris and your pupil, maybe a little spot for a highlight. And then you should have eyelids on the bottom and on the top, and some eyelashes that you worked on, and a little area here for your tear duct. So you're going to need that part, that drawing, and then you're going to need some oil pastels. You should have received a packet or a bag of oil pastels last week. So you're going to need these for today. The other thing that I think you probably will want is a paper towel. That way you can wipe your finger off because the oil pastels can sometimes be a little bit sticky. So before we get started with color, I just want to remind you, we already talked about some of those, the parts of your eye. The thing that I didn't mention was that you might have part of your eyebrow above your eye. And then we also are going to have that white area around your iris, the sclera, which we talked about last week. So anyways, you don't need those words on your drawing, but I just wanted to remind you of those parts that we talked about. All right, so to get started today, we are going to work on your iris and your sclera, the white area of your eye, first. And then we're going to work on your eyelid. We might mark the eyelid out, but then we'll work on the skin tone around your eye at the end. So that way our arms won't smear our drawing. We don't want to get our clothes really dirty. Now I have long sleeve shirt on. I'm going to roll up my sleeves because again, these oil pastels sometimes can be a little sticky and they can make your skin feel dirty. So I'm going to take off my rings as well. All right, so depending on the color of your eye, that's going to depend on what color you're going to take from your oil pastels. Now, I have brown eyes, so I'm going to I have a light brown. Now, I know that you might have, I know we included a brown, and you might not have two kinds of browns, though. In my pack, I have a dark brown and a light brown. But you can, if you have whatever brown you have, you can darken it with a black or a purple. That would darken it. But that's if you have brown eyes. If you have blue eyes, you want to pull out your blues. And again, I know you should have two color blues. I've got a dark one in mine if my eyes were blue, and I've got this lighter one. So you're going to want to have at least two colors to work with. Then I want you to take out your white. Your white should look like this. It doesn't really look white because it's got other colors on it, but in the end, you can see in the tip, you can see a little bit of that white. So I'm going to have my white ready. And I think I'm going to add, I have a little for the brown of my eye. I'm going to have that out too. And later on, we'll probably get some black. So you're going to take the main color and you're going to outline the iris around the circular part of your eye that we talked about. Now, the paper I am using is a little bit more textured than the paper that I sent you. So I might have to work a little harder trying to get it solid. I'll show you what's happening because of the texture of my paper. You can see how it's kind of bumpy. Yours should be pretty smooth. I'm going to have to fight mine. My paper actually would be better if I were using chalk pastels, but we're using oil, so we're just going to work with what we got. Okay, so after you've outlined it, I want you to go ahead and I want you to outline the pupil as well. Now we're going to fill that in black, but we're going to outline it with the color, and I'm going to outline the edge of the area that I'm going to use for a highlight. So I have this white area I'm going to put white in at the end, but I'm going to go around the edges of it with my main eye color. And then from there, I want you to go ahead and you're going to start to put those lines in that we talked about really close next to each other. Now what's fun about these oil pastels is that you can blend them together. If we were using Crayola wax crayons, you can kind of blend those together, but not as well as these. And so I'm just going to remind you of kind of how smooth that iris can be. And as you can see here with the green one that Mr. Warner did, we have some dark lines that go in, but he's used a couple different greens. So we're going to use multiple colors. That's why I had you choose at least two. And you're going to put those lines that move in towards the pupil. So I want you to go ahead and kind of sketch that in. And it just takes a little while, you know, for you to fill that all the way in. So that's what I'm going to have you work on. And then after you have part of that done, or you have the whole thing, you can work on it in different parts. You're going to take your second color and you're going to start putting some lines that go over the color you've already used. Okay? So you're going to just, and you can go back to the color you had, and you can keep kind of going in between whatever the dark color is you're using and the light color. Okay? And yours should be a little bit easier, like I said, because you're not going to have that texture that I have to fight on mine. So I'm just going to keep filling that in. So I want you to go ahead and fill in all around the iris. And I'm going to do the same thing. So you can pause the video because when I come back, I'll have my whole area filled out. You can see that I've actually colored in the iris about as solidly as I can with this paper. And you also can see that I've used some different colors. So I have the dark brown and the light brown that I showed you. And then I decided to use a little bit of this kind of, we call it ochre, but it's a dark yellow. And I used a little bit of that green. And I have gone over some parts with the white. So if you haven't done that, you want to go ahead and keep adding the layers until they kind of blend. You can see that sometimes when that happens, my fingers are starting to get a little bit dirty. But that's okay, because we'll wash our hands. You can always wipe those on your paper towel, and that'll help clean it off. But I want you to go ahead, and I'm going to kind of fill in any other little spots I can. And I'm going to go over some of these areas where I have the yellow, the dark yellow and the brown. I'm going to add a little bit of white to that. And then I'm going to go back over it with that dark yellow and that medium brown. And that way you can see what happens are those colors. I just keep building layers with that. And it's going to add depth to this eye. And again, we can see that with Mr. Warner's as well. He's done lots of different layers. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to do the pupil and then the edge of the iris, which are black. So you want to get out your black oil pastel, and you can see I've got mine, it's nice and dark. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to work on the interior of the pupil first, and I'll do that by outlining it. I'm going to go around the edge of what I'm going to use for my highlight. So I'm going to leave this white, but I'm going to fill this in with the black. And again, the more you layer it on top, the more it is going to blend. Okay, so you've got to, you're going to do your first coat and then you'll go over it again. Now with the pupil, we're only going to use black. We're not going to use another color. So you want to get that really just nice and solid. I think I might even have I have a black one that's like the one that you have. It's a little bit wider. You could use it, because yours doesn't have paper on it, you could use it on the side like that. And then it kind of colors it in a little bit more quickly. But you want to just be real careful because you only want to get the pupil. You don't want to get it into the iris that we just spent a good amount of time trying to get. Now, you can see my fingers are turning nice and black. So I don't want to touch my colored iris. But with my finger, while it's still dirty, I'm going to rub the pupil that I did. I put enough of the pastel on here that I can rub it really nice and thick. Okay, so my recommendation is if yours isn't smearing, then maybe you want to add another layer on, but you can see how solid it gets even though my paper is textured. Okay, so we're just going to do that. And now you can see my finger's really dirty, so I'm going to wipe that on my paper towel. And I can wipe, I even have it up higher on my fingers. And you can see we're going to get that real clean. So they're still dirty, but it's not as dirty. You can see how much came off. Okay, so I'm going to take that black again, and this time I'm going to go around the edge of my iris. We want to make that pop. And of course, my finger is going to get dirty. And then I'm just going to blend that, run my finger over that line. And that's going to really kind of smooth it out. You can see. And some of that dark, I'm kind of pulling up just a little bit into the edge of my iris. But that's it. I really don't want the black to go everywhere else. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to rub it off on my paper towel. And if you want to, you can pause the video and wipe the black off. You're going to need soap, even maybe some dish soap to get that off. Okay? All right. Once you have done that, I want you to go ahead and get kind of that peachy color that you have, unless of course your skin is a little bit darker. You could do like a light brown as well. But anyways, this is the one that you want to use even for the base. Even if your skin is darker than this, you probably want to start with this, and then we'll build up. You can build up some dark spots, darker skin tones if you want. Okay, so we're going to take this and we are going to outline the main shape of your eye and the eyelid that we did. I'm going to come around, and we have the interior of that shape, but we also are going to have the lines underneath your where the eyelid is, underneath that line from the eye. So I'm just going to put those in for now, because that's going to tell us where to put our sclera, where we're going to do the white. So that just marks kind of a border on our on the skin tone. So we've got that in. Okay. So I'm going to hold that up so you can kind of see. I've got the outline of the lid, and you can see it down here. So we're going to do this part first. We're going to do the highlight, and then again, this is the sclera, the white on this side. And this little tear duct, we're going to do a different color. So you want to save this because that will do pink. If you have your mirror, you can look in there and see how this is kind of pink. So we're going to work just on this white part. Okay, so you're going to find your white. Now remember how I said the white's kind of dirty? Once we start using it, you'll see here. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to start working on the white right here. And you can see because the paper is a different color, it's darker, you can see how the white will stand out. Now, I have a white like yours where you don't have any paper on it, so you can kind of rub it on its side, and of course you can see how white it becomes. The reason why the whites get so dirty is because you can see perfectly. I'm holding it with my kind of my dirty fingers, and that's what makes the outside of the white, it just makes it dirty because it spreads. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to do that on both sides. And again, you can pause the video if you want in order to fill this in. You can keep coloring with me, but if you need more time kind of to work on it, go ahead and do that. See, I have the white almost all the way filled in. Now there are little clumps and kind of pieces of the white that have come off the oil pastel, and you can kind of see it on my fingers. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to blend some of that in. You want to be careful. If your finger's really dirty, that might get your white too dirty, so then you don't want to do this. But if your finger's pretty clean, you can smear the white a little bit. I'm going to wipe my fingers off on the paper towel again. Okay, I'm going to pick up that white and I'm just going to do my little highlight. We're going to make that really bright. You want to be careful not to touch the black from the pupil or the color, because we want to keep that real clean. That's just a nice little light that's reflecting off of your eye. And I might even just put a little bit of a white reflection here as well. I'm kind of picking up the couple pieces of that white that I don't want on there. Okay, so you can see now what that looks like. All right. The next thing that we want to do, which is still on the inside of the eye, is where the tear duct is. And we're going to kind of make that pink. So we're going to grab, you should have a pink. Mine is a little bit thinner, but you can see. We're going to use the pink. You could get the red out as well. I have to pull the paper off of this just so I can have access to it a little bit better. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to kind of color that in. Go in as well on top of that, kind of with the skin tone color. You can see, just filling that in. And then I'm even going to go, I'm just going to put a tiny bit of white on there. And now I'm going to take my finger and I'm going to blend it. I'm going to spread it really, it's real smooth. I had enough of that there that it blended really well. You can see how solid it got, even compared to the white. So there we go. All right, so that means that we need to color in the rest with the skin tone, and then we'll put the eyelashes on. So we're going to pick up that light color, kind of peachy color. We'll put this down as a base. If you need to darken it up later, we can add some other colors. But you're going to use it on its side, and you're going to fill in. Oh, I have to excuse my moving paper. We're going to go ahead, I'm filling in where the eyelid is first, and I'm going to do that on this lower part. And then I'm going to start to add skin tone all over on my paper. So I want you to go ahead and fill in that whole paper with your skin color, okay? And like I said, if you want to darken it up a little bit after you get a coat of this on, you can go ahead and, like, I might darken it up with a little bit of this this kind of dark yellow that I had. I'm going to put that in the creases a little bit. Then I'm going to go over that with my peachy color, and that's going to blend in, and that's going to give me a little bit darker area, so that can kind of be a shadow a little bit. You can take a dark brown as well. That's what I have here. Actually, this is my medium brown. And I'm doing that at the top part of my eyelid, and I'm just going to blend that in, and that will help us see that there's a crease in the eye. So you can go ahead and you can pause this video and color in all your skin tone, because I'm going to show you in just a second. I'm going to fill it all in, and then I'll start up the video again so you can see it that way. Okay, so I have gotten my paper mostly filled with our skin tone. You can kind of see, again, because mine is textured, I'm going to basically be using up all of the skin tone color that I have. So you want to make sure that yours is colored in all the way, and you can see here I've added a little bit of the darker brown that we outlined the eye with on the edges, and I blended that in. I took my finger and I blended that in with that peachy color, and then I also added, you can see down here, I added a little bit of white to it for a highlight, because this part would be out a little bit on your face, so that would catch the light a little bit more, so you can blend that in. And I did that as well on the top. I also want to show you here, I added a little bit. This is from here where your eye is. This is going to be pulling up. That's going to be where the ridge of your nose and your eyebrows go. So that's the last part that we're going to do. We're going to add a little bit of, if you have room on yours like mine, I have to add a little bit of eyebrow, and then we're going to add our eyelashes. I'm going to go ahead and take, now you can see I've got my dark brown here, and you can tell that I had some white, that when it touches the colored area on my paper, part of it actually gets onto the oil pastel. So we're going to use that, and I'm going to just kind of put in some lines that would show the edge of my eyebrow. If my paper was bigger, my eyebrow would come up over here, and then I would catch the edge of it maybe right here as well. So you can ask your mom or your dad to look at this and kind of help you figure out whether you would be able to see any part of your eyebrow. If you look at Mr. Warner's example, he has the same thing. So he's got a little bit of the eyebrow here, and then over on the edge, we see it here. So you can go ahead and put some lines in for that. I'm just going to add, I'm going to keep adding a little bit of that skin color up near where this eyebrow is again. I think I'm going to take just a little bit of my dark brown, so we get a sense of, this is where we would have a little bit of shadow, because again, this is where our nose is going to start to be. If we had a bigger sheet of paper, that's what we would be drawing there. Now I just went over it with a little bit of white, and now back over again with the peachy skin tone. And you just really, it's all about layering. And then you're going to go in, and the more layers that you have, the more it's going to blend for you. So we've got the marks for kind of the shadow by your nose. That leaves us with this last little bit where we're going to put the eyelashes in. So I'm going to take my darker brown. You could use your dark brown or the black. We're going to use a darker color so we can see it. And we are going to be putting in our eyelashes, okay? So now these, Mr. Warner has his kind of pointing down. My eyelashes are a little bit bigger than that, so I'm going to have mine kind of coming off to the edge. I would take time to look in the mirror and figure out, what do your eyelashes do? And are they really light so you barely can see them, or are they kind of darker? So I'm going to start here at the corner, and I'm just going to start pulling them, my eyelashes, off to the side. And again, I'm sticking to the edge of where I have the eyelid showing, okay? Now, my eyelashes, when you have your eyelashes on the side, usually you can see that you can see their length a little bit. But as you can see, as I get closer to the center and where my iris is, I'm pulling those up. So they're off to the side here, but they get kind of pulled up. And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to do that on the bottom. Now your bottom eyelashes, and you can look in the mirror, tend to be a lot smaller and shorter, and they round, they're kind of, curvy lines because they're just a little bit smaller. And your eyelashes, I mean, they act as a form of protection, so that when you blink, they help keep things out of your eye. They protect your eyes so things can't just fly into your eye, or particles of dirt or dust. They help keep that out of your eye. So we don't want to forget the eyelashes. They're really quite important. Now, I want you to see down here, my eyelashes are kind of blending into all of that skin tone that I did. So, and in some areas, it's a little bit of a problem. So I might take a slightly darker color, which I guess would really have to be my black. And I could go in and just darken up those a little bit. But you want to be real careful with using the black, because that can make things really muddy and dark. So you don't want to use too much. So I might just go in and kind of define just a little bit of the eye just at the corners so that it will pop. Okay. Just a tiny bit, just a little bit at the bottom. I might do just a little bit here. I just want to be real careful because I don't want to have it be so dark. And I don't want it to take away from all that work we did blending in color. Okay. Just kind of put that in there. I think the last thing I'm going to do is, this is so dark, I think I'm going to take, with the black, I'm going to take my pink, and I'm just going to blend that over the black and make it a little less obvious. In this way, it'll just darken up that tear duct area, but it's not as bright as the black in the area. See how that softened that up a little bit? All right, so that is the end of our eye portrait. I cannot wait to see yours, okay? So work on it, take your time. If you have to do it, if you want to work on it for a little while one day and then come back to it, feel free to go ahead and do that. And I can't wait to see it posted on Seesaw. So have a great rest of your day, Lucas, and we'll see your artwork soon.